But do you ever have awkward moments in church? Those of you that have never been to church, you're going to really love this next 5 minutes because you missed a bunch of junk probably, that maybe some of us, other ones, have experienced. But for some reason, anytime you gather a bunch of people, you can create a bunch of awkwardness because people are awkward. It gets weird because people are weird. I'm weird, you're a little weird, we're all a little weird together, right? And church can be a very difficult thing sometimes to navigate. What is it? What's it all about? What's it supposed to be like? It seems like there's competing ideas out there about what church should be like and what it should all be about. And how do you make sense of all that? And how do you learn to trust a group of people that you haven't really gotten to know very deeply yet? How do you, especially when you hear stories, I'm sure you've heard stories about how the church has hurt people, how the church has made some mistakes, how the church has kind of gone off track sometimes. And of course it has, because it's made up of people. And people aren't perfect. And it's led by leaders who aren't perfect either. And before we get into this idea of what is a church trap and what is really church, I think it's so important for you to just have this disclaimer right up front. There's no such thing as a perfect church. You're not in one this morning. Just in case you weren't aware of that, right? Like some of you that have been around a while, you're like, we get it, Josh. We've seen your outfits. We know it's not a perfect church. There's no such thing as a perfect church, and there's no such thing as a perfect leader, and there's no such thing as a perfect pastor. And if you're coming here and you're excited about this church, we're excited that you're here, and we're excited that you're coming and excited about it too, but we're not perfect. And so I could just save you a whole lot of time. And as we jump into this talk, it's really important to remember that there is no such thing as a perfect church, because there's no such thing as a perfect person. There's all kinds of awkward church traps that we can fall into. There's the casino clock trap. Have you ever seen the awkward church trap of the casino clock trap? It's almost like a casino. I know you've never been to one, right? I've seen one on TV, so I can tell you what this is all about, right? But like in a casino, they pump the place full of oxygen and they take all the clocks out, right? So there's not a clock, and the whole point is to trap you in there. Church sometimes can feel like somebody took the clock out and pumped the preacher full of oxygen, right? Okay, that's way past the espressos. He's been drinking nitro all night, or that's coffee for those of you that aren't hipsters, right? I don't know what you thought that was, but it's not an additive for your fuel in your car. It's a type of coffee. But, and then they just set them loose. It's like the clock's just gone, and they'll call it whatever, all kinds of things. Sometimes it's just kind of pride, and sometimes they'll say it's the spirit. I'm not bashing those that maybe spiritualize those things, but it's the church trap that there's no clock. I sat in one of these church traps one time, and a guest speaker decided that he had his chance to speak about everything. When I say everything, I mean like everything. Like he spoke about everything. I'm pretty sure he hit most of the books of the Bible, homeschooling, public schooling, He just talked about literally everything. People in the seats around me, not me, I would never do this, but they were like placing over-unders on how long this sermon was going to go. I don't know who won, but I'm sure it's whoever took the over, because it was the longest service ever. There's all kinds of awkward church traps. There's the bait and switch trap. You ever have that switch trap? It sounds really good, and they're like, hey, come to this meal. It's going to be great. You're going to have all kinds of fun stuff. And then they come to the meal and make you sit through a 30-minute sermon before they feed you. It's like they just dangle the food out in front of you. I'm not talking about other churches. I'm talking about in the history of this church. Now, it's a long history. We've probably done all of this. Churches, they can be difficult and awkward. There can be a social awkwardness trap, where they make you hug 6 people or kiss the 4 people in your aisle before they start the sermon, or everybody, hold hands, and it's just, it can be difficult and strange to think about. And there's some fun church awkwardness. Honestly, it's fun to joke around about. It's kind of fun to walk through, although we try to make this as comfortable a space for you, because the only uncomfortableness we want you to experience is when God taps your heart and shows you a new direction. And while it can be uncomfortable, it's really good discomfort.